I'm here with Andy and Ellen Flatmeyer. They're teaching the parenting class starting January 7th. It's going to be held in the Micah Center during the
First
hour.
9 o'clock.
All parents are welcome. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to register. And actually, if you are married and you don't have kids yet, this would be an awesome class for you to come to. I know that. How many years have you taught this now?
It's our fourth year?
Fourth or fifth?
Fourth year teaching it?
Yep.
When you guys first had kids, did you go through a period where you're like, wait a minute, we don't intuitively know how to do this? And started reading or asking for advice?
What? Where is the manual for all this?
Yes. How was that journey for you guys?
Well, I think it is. It was one of those, you have a child now, and how do you, it's the challenges of, Ellen was raised differently than I was raised. Mm-hmm. So not only we now as married for, I think we're 5 years into it.
Before you had kids?
Before I had kids. Mm-hmm. So through that, we knew each other, but when you have a child, then you become very, this is how I was. This was successful in my world. And so you have differences, and that caused some conflict. But also in the sense of you have pride going on saying, oh, look at that child over there. They're doing so great. They're already talking, and listen, mom asked one time and they already responded. What are we doing wrong? And there's a lot of critique of yourself and how you handle it.
We were fortunate to have had people before us and mentors before us that we were watching them raise their kids. And we were watching the spiritual aspect of that. I think as parents, it's so easy just to focus on the behavior.
Yep.
And we do a lot of comparison with behavior. But we quickly found that kind of in our churches that we're not necessarily talking about the heart of our kiddos and what we're doing spiritually with that. Now, High Point is doing a fantastic job with the Family Challenge. Really, though, I mean, that is making it on the forefront for people.
It's picked up.
But that is not something that we had experienced for 15 years of parenting. So we observed a lot of people. We talked to a lot of people. Okay. Andy and I came from different backgrounds, but what we needed to establish first was, where are we at spiritually? How is the gospel going to be lived out in our married life that then is reflected into being poured into our kiddos? The main focus of this class is the heart of the child. And we use material from Paul Tripp, who has just written a book about 14 gospel principles that shape a family and can radically change a family. And so looking at these gospel principles that start first with us and then leads to the type of interaction we have with our kids makes the difference. Rather than just lots of times your kids are crazy, and so you're attacking the behavior all the time, and you never really get underneath that. And so the challenge of this class is we're going to try to get underneath that. Would
you guys just speak a little bit to having those theological understandings is so critical, to have the gospel straight in your heart, but then also some practical tools and ways of handling situations is also helpful, right? You guys try to bring both of those things to the people that come.
Right, because today in parenting, the reality of it is that I have kiddos that are not picking up after themselves.
Or first-time responders asking to do something and they obey that. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So it's 6 o'clock at night and I'm running a little short on patience and just really need kind of some practical stuff. Mm-hmm. So there'll be a lot of talk about that in the class, because for us, we just got to sit back and be like, okay, what's in place? What have we already put in place? Follow through on that.
Yeah, makes sense. I've heard parents say things like, there's so much literature out there. There's so many viewpoints. I get so stressed when I even think about starting to research or get different perspectives, because sometimes one person will say one thing, one person will say the opposite. So I'm just going to go off my gut feelings and do the best I can. What would you say to, somebody that's been
come to this class. Like, we weeded through a ton of that stuff and really come down to basic foundational principles that are really strategic for building a Christ-centered family.
Yeah, I think one of the keys that, you bring into the class is questions. And how do you get to the heart of the matter? What is the purpose? Why are you doing this? And it helps, equip parents with some of these questions. You could read some of these Love and Logics, some of these other ones that we've tried to figure out. Does it work for our kids? Does it not? When it comes down to it, it is the heart of the child, and we are looked at, Paul Tripp references as ambassadors.
Mm-hmm.
We are not, we think we're the final authority and we have all the pressure on us. No, we are ambassadors. We're called upon to lead our children to Him through,
doing His will.
Doing His will through Scripture. And you look at the Word, and the Word teaches many things about it, on how do you deal with money, how do you deal with anger, things like that. So, you try to recognize that we don't have all the answers, and we won't, but we've experienced it. And a lot of times for our lives is identifying mentors that help you with that practicality.
And that's one of the great things about the class, is that we're all in there together. Like, really, the more people that can come to this class, like, you have to come, because the more of us that are there, it's everybody giving their input and, hey, I've tried this, or I've read this, and this has been effective for me, and man, we're struggling with this right now, or this has been a success. And that is huge for our church community. We just had the baby dedications, and on those Sundays I sit there and I think, all of us parents need to come together and do this. And I think the parenting class gives opportunity for that in our church.
Mm-hmm. There's relationships that are built in it between parents and mentors and all those.
You bet. As the worst thing of the darkness is isolation.
Mm-hmm.
You run into problems. Your child is doing something, or boy or girl that you don't want them to be doing. You'd rather, I'm going to hide it. I'm not going to, and bring the light into the issue. Part of it is bringing it into the community, and they can help you, and that's. Yeah.
And we're not coming into this as perfect parents.
People know us. They know we don't have perfect kids.
I've always said that part of the reason that we teach this class is because we need a review of it every year.
And it is true.
It's true. It really helps us keep our parenting on track and keeping it focused the way it should, and not freaking out over kids not picking up and those sorts of things.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I love that. We teach every year.
Yep.
As a review, partially as a review for ourselves. It's so good.
Right?
It's so good.
Yeah, the class is really for parents with all age kids. And even if there's issues that you're dealing with as teenagers, there's some really basic things that you can add into your parenting that really can have a significant difference in kind of your everyday.
Or those that are 14-year-olds, but can really support those that are 2-4-year-olds.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, hey, what have I learned? I've seen the benefit because I've made this discipline. I made this important in my life.
I was recently talking to a mom from the church, and she said, we came in, neither me nor my husband really had a lot of church in our upbringing, and everything we do parenting is all from the class. 100%. We had no background until we got in, and now we just do everything we've learned, and it's so helpful.
Yay.
So it's really cool. Really cool.
Honestly, Ellen's the educator. I'm the color commentary. I'm the one that makes a lot of mistakes and can admit to it, and that's kind of the fun of, just sharing those stories and admitting mistakes. And every time we go through it, it's like, oh, yeah, I did that again. And it's good.
Yeah. I'm sure there will be some dads that go, okay, I'm gone 60 hours a week, and my wife is staying at home, so this is a great class for her to go to, and for me to just hear some details later.
Right. Terrible move. I mean, honestly, because, so many things in my life is, like you said, the limited time I do have, I try to correct in a way that's, against what we've established, and I want to make things happen quickly, or I try to isolate it. No, it's the spiritual leader of the home. I need to be engaged, not only just recognizing what is being taught, but also for myself to be a leader in my home. I need to understand the strategy of what is at the heart of the matter. What are we called to do?
And us being on the same page.
So
you guys would encourage parents to come together, husband and wife?
Absolutely. Together. There's time in the class to talk to each other. You want to make sure there's practical, processing that's going on. So you learn these questions, and then you start helping each other. So many times, we talk afterwards. How do you handle that? It's like, you should have, maybe done it this way, or you kind of attacked too harsh, or some of those things. So it's on the same page.
It gives us similar language and a framework to process through things together afterwards, and even sometimes during. Or before.
Yes.
But at least it gets us kind of on the same page. When one of us has run out of steam, the other one can kind of pitch in a little bit because we're kind of starting at the same place. And that's been helpful over the years. And the more we have done this type of heart parenting, that we have come much, much closer together in how we parent. Like, we don't have the struggles and arguments about parenting nearly like we did at the beginning, because we were trying to piecemeal things. And now when you have the similar approach, we don't have the conflict between each other with our parenting.
You think it strengthened your marriage?
Oh,
learning parenting stuff.
Extremely.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, yes, because, if we look at even the behavior of the child, we're looking at the heart of the child. We have to look at our own hearts. And what is our desire? Is it my selfishness? Where do I get fed type thing? What is more my needs met? It's a lot of what your kids are asking for. Their needs are there, and you're ready to jump on their needs, but then you don't look at your own or your marriage. So if Christ is the center of our marriage, it's also going to be the center of our raising our children.
Come on. It's so good.
Yeah.
Right, because if we're living a life that has God infused in everything, and we're trying to ourselves be discipled and disciple others, and walking in a way that we are trying to be Christ-like, if that's happening here first, then it's easy to show our kids. And most of the thing about parenting is just really reflecting that. And that's one of the things we talk about in the parenting class, is the difference between being parents who are like ownership parents, who are like, we're controlling. We want our kids this certain way. They should be acting this certain way. And like, let's have X, Y, and Z all in order, rather than this idea of being an ambassador that as Christ ones, we're discipling our kiddos. And when you take that paradigm shift, that's huge. Like, it takes a lot of the pressure off of us, because we know that it's Christ and the Holy Spirit's work in our kiddos that's going to make the change. But it gives...
It's motivating too.
Absolutely. Right. And there's tools within that are practical in achieving that. So it's not just all theory. Like, there's practical tools along the way in achieving that.
So good.
In our young marrieds, with our last group, we had some of them come. And as we were having our young marrieds group, they were bringing up things from the parenting class that they were implementing and using in their marriage that was like super helpful for them. And
they didn't
like,
have kids yet.
No. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, why are we going to this parenting class? And it made a difference.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tools, techniques that does work with marriage, with the kids. The feelings for feelings, facts for facts. It's a model that I learned early, that when someone speaks a feeling to you, when Ellen speaks a feeling, I need to respond with a feeling, so she recognizes that I hear what she's saying. I'm heard. She's hurt or she's sad. I don't have to agree with the feeling, but I acknowledge that she has that feeling. And from that feeling, now I can go to the facts. Now I can fix it, as guys like to do. Same with the kids. They're hurt. They, a lot of times they can't communicate their emotions. I know as a kid, I just, squelch it. As a guy, you don't do it. And my parents said that I didn't have words to describe my emotions and my feelings.
We do a lot of talking in our house. And that's something I really encourage in the class, is a ton of talking. Because when you can start linking your feelings to your behavior, and then be able to look in your heart to see what's motivating that, that's what we all need to do as Christ ones. And the sooner we can help our kiddos start doing that process, the more that they will be able to see Christ at work in them and living that out. So lots of talk. I always say lots of talk when things are good, little talk when things are bad.
That's good. Ooh, that's really good.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
That's good. Is that an Ellen original?
That I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly where I got that from. But Lots of talk when things are good. Little talk when things are bad.
Yeah.
Makes a difference. And we're really good. Like, even having that little phrase for us, we tend to start like lecturing and start rambling, which I think maybe some other parents do. We'll like look at each other and be like, oh, like you're moving into the lots of talk. Like,
they've heard us.
So that's good for us because then we're not like angry to each other because you're trying to control what I did with the kids and blah, blah, blah. No.
We both know the same set of phrases and principles and rules and common language.
Common language. Yeah.
Andy, talk a little bit about the importance of bringing, other people from the church, from the community into your home and how that's affected your parenting.
Well, I think it's helpful in the sense of that our kids see the interactions and the maturity with the other adults or, young, old, whatever. It's just for them to have conversations with them, recognize how we talk and how we support one another through prayer, through just sharing our lives. And our kids grow with that. I mean, they see that. That's part of the community that we're trying to develop within our kids so that when they do go out in the workforce or in schools, they're accustomed to adult conversations.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I've heard parents say things like, our kids are so time consuming. We don't have time to have relationships with people from the church. We don't have time to have relationships with people from work. But it's actually those relationships that strengthens your parenting, that your kids learn from those watching you interact with other people.
It helps your parenting.
Yes.
Like the things that our kids are tired of hearing us say, when you have somebody else in the house and the kids are hearing that from somebody else or they're hearing our conversations. And also we've had amazing role models for our kiddos too, watching couples go through dating and breakups and getting married and having kiddos. Like, they're seeing the Christian life lived out in front of them at all different ages, including grandmas and that sort of thing who are dealing with spiritual issues that are very different than the 25-year-olds that are in our life. But they get to see that whole range of people trying to walk with the Lord and how that looks lived out. And
it's not beautiful. I mean, there's challenges. Right. There's things that really come to heart, and we have to sometimes, pull them aside and talk to them about it. And that's just another opportunity that you take on parenting. It's something that we can't foresee. I mean, part of our job is to launch our children into adulthood, and part of the launch is to have them see the challenges that we might not introduce to our home, but others have it in their homes or have been raised in that environment. So then hearing them share is important.
Do you guys know Andy Stanley?
Yes.
We use that for our marriage group.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I heard him say that, and you may have heard him say this, that he said when the kids were little, like every morning, he would read emails from people he got, take their name out of lives who are falling apart because of the decisions.
I have heard that.
Yes.
I heard him say that.
Like every day. Like, look what happened to this person.
But that's where, one of the main things for our parenting is talking so openly with our kids about the struggles that we're having, about how we're feeling about things. We talk about like feelings and emotions all the time.
Sure.
And if you start with that when your kiddos are little, then they're much more, you get teenagers who are still willing to talk. Even if sometimes you have to give them a little space first, they're still willing to talk and share their heart, which then we can help parent and guide that. If we don't know that stuff, then it's hard to parent the heart.
You bet. Or even recognizing where we overstep boundaries. I mean, there was a time where I had to go up and apologize to Isaac because I sinned in my anger. And so those are things that you through the time, you just go and you recognize where you're out of line. Not only them and they're mad or I'm mad, it's some of those things, and that's being real to your kids.
Yeah, you don't have to be perfect.
No.
Far from it.
Yeah, you just got to be humble.
Right.
One of the things I've heard is that one of the biggest factors that determines whether or not kids walk with Jesus after they graduate high school is if there are 6 other adults outside of the parents who know their names, who love Jesus, who have some kind of relational connection with them.
It's important.
That's huge.
Yep.
3 biological kids.
Yes.
One adopted that you adopted, Marielle,
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yep.
I'm sure that's come with all sorts of challenges.
It's difficult to find one-on-one time, especially since Marielle came home with her special needs. It takes the both of us.
Doesn't have to be a big event and
No.
overnight.
Don't try to do it.
Just saying, we're connecting right now.
Yeah.
We try to schedule
Yeah.
it and do things, or we take advantage at certain points when things
Mhm.
are, after a game or something like that. I'll go out with Hannah or Isaac when we're traveling to some type of tournament or activity. I'm sure,
Mhm.
so whenever we can,
Mhm.
we recognize we try to take advantage of that and just talk to them about life, or
Yes.
especially when they're hitting some challenges.
I can find moments where I can just go hang with Caleb for a little bit in the house. I can go hang out with one of the other kids and just talk. And they come home from school and we talk about the day, or we do that at dinner time, like wherever it can fit in.
Mhm.
Even just those few moments of one-on-one, eye to eye,
Yes.
I care about you,
Mhm.
makes all the difference in
Yeah.
the world.